Hey everyone, I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business, and today we're going to be talking about cryptocurrency and blockchain advertising / marketing using cryptocurrency on blockchain and crypto social platforms and various ecosystems. So the platforms we're going to take a look at today are Minds, Uptrennd, LBRY / Odysee, Hive, DTube, Read.Cash, Brave Browser, and Presearch. I was previously also going to look at Den.Social, but currently I think their boosting model is like under review, or it's being edited or changed or something. But I have previously tested out boosting on Den.Social, and I'm sure it will be back and available very soon. So that is also something to keep in mind, but I won't be really covering that today. We'll be covering all these other ones. Essentially, legacy platforms have, very limited options for people trying to directly reach crypto enthusiasts, people who don't like censorship, who are pro-privacy, pro-free speech, who want to be involved in different crypto and blockchain related projects and things. It's much harder to reach those people through legacy platforms, either because they have restrictions around advertising. There's so many other people bidding. People ignore those types of ads from those platforms like Facebook and Google. So many reasons why it's not super beneficial to be advertising on those networks. And if you want to either use crypto that you've earned on various social platforms, or use crypto that you have, or whatever it happens to be, but you want to stay within the crypto ecosystem and still be able to advertise and market in various ways, this video is for you. I'm going to be diving into all the various ways that I have tested myself, whether it's just boosting internally for your content, or it's actually running some sort of advertisement on these platforms. So we're going to dive into all that today. And just before we do, a quick word from my sponsor. A big thank you and shout out to my sponsor, Cake Wallet, which is an open source, non-custodial Bitcoin and Monero wallet that also has a built-in exchange. It's available on iOS and Android. Thanks for my sponsor, and now for the video. So the first thing we're going to look at today is DTube, and DTube is like it's very similar to YouTube, but in like a decentralized manner. Very familiar for people who have previously used this on Steam back in the day. Again, this is a decentralized platform. You don't necessarily have boosting, quote unquote, or advertising, but more so it's that when you post content, you can use your voting power to vote on your own content, which is going to earn you more DTC with their actual token, as well as give you a little bit more visibility on the network so that possibly other people will see it and engage with your content as well. Now, all you have to do is hold DTC, and over time, your voting power will go up. The more voting power you have, the more that you can spend to boost content. But your voting power will always go down and then regenerate back slowly over time based on how much DTC you hold. So the more DTC you hold, the faster this will go up, and the more effective you can be with how much you want to power up your videos, etc. You can also vote on other people's content using this, but personally, as a content creator, I save most of mine for posting and boosting my own content. And then you'll earn more DTC, which will help you earn more voting power, and you kind of just keep that going. And then obviously you can go and withdraw directly to your MetaMask wallet, and you can claim all your rewards, etc. here. But what I'm mainly focused on is actually boosting your content. And I won't get into it because unfortunately you have to wait for an entire upload to go through to actually bring it up. So I'm just going to briefly mention exactly how it works. But all you really do is you upload a piece of content, and then from there you'll see the little slider for how much voting power you actually want to add to that piece of content. It also gives you the option to just use your direct DTC if you want to just do that, or you don't have any voting power. This will give you much more impact because you're actually spending your coins versus this, which will give you less impact because you're not really spending anything tangible, and you will infinitely regenerate this, and there is no cap whatsoever on how much you will get. So This is very effective. It'll boost your visibility, but this is more so for content creators. Whereas some of the other platforms that we're going to cover are more so for any general user, whether you're a content creator or just a general user. And a perfect example of this is the Minds platform. So on Minds, you can run boosts basically, on anything, on any piece of content. You can also boost your profile, and you could get a sponsored segment if you do liquidity providing with your Minds tokens. So with Minds, you can go and you can see this boost here. This is to boost my profile. This is the same button to access to boost your profile. Or if you want to directly boost something from your feed, you can click on the boost button that shows up below it on the feed. So as an example here, you could put 2.5 tokens, and that's 2,500 views. Each one token is worth 1,000 views, and that breaks down into fractions. I highly recommend just using off-chain tokens because on-chain tokens, you still have to pay a gas fee, and the gas fee is higher than the actual cost of the boost itself, so it is not feasible. Instead, what you want to do is you want to earn Minds tokens, and then you can spend these off-chain tokens with no cost in doing so. So here's an example. So you can see the request to be boosted is now been sent. Or if I wanted to, again, boost my profile, I could do that here. That was a newsfeed sidebar boost, meaning that it'll show up on the side here. That's the placement because this is a blog. But for a regular post like this, just a newsfeed post, you'll see that the placement will be for the newsfeed. So it will show up in the middle here on the actual feed. And a quick example, this right here is the liquidity provider slot. And then here is boosted content. So anything on the sidebar will appear in this boosted content section. And then occasionally you will see boosted content here in the middle. If you have Minds Plus, you won't see any of those types of ads or anything like that. But for people who are boosting, this is the main way to spend your Minds tokens in an effective way to just get more awareness for different content and boost visibility. I would say the best way to do this is to earn it. And whether that's through using the platform or you can buy Minds tokens and hold them on chain on, say, like your MetaMask wallet, then you can connect that to here and you will earn off-chain tokens from holding them as well. This way, you can still do boosting and earn Minds tokens over time, and you won't have to worry about any gas fees, and you can still do all that boosting and kind of get that just based off your initial investment. So the beautiful thing here is that if you use this platform a lot and you earn the tokens, or you hold some Minds tokens on chain, you're just going to continually earn off-chain tokens that you can spend on boosting and advertising. So it is a very easy way with either your time investment or like one initial investment that will keep generating more tokens to allow you to do more boosting and advertising. So it's very useful because with an initial investment, you can get a lot out of this basically forever, as long as you're earning a reasonable amount that covers what you're trying to boost. So we've covered these two. Let's take a look at Hive. So Hive is, again, somewhat similar to DTube in that based on the power that you gain from your actual tokens, you have a voting power. The difference here is you have to stake your Hive tokens rather than on DTube where you can just hold them. And your voting power goes up from staking, and you also earn some interest on that as well. And you can delegate to earn more for people willing to pay for that. But in terms of boosting, you have the basic boost where you're just using your voting power to vote, and you can vote on yourself, which you've seen I've done here. This helps me get a little bit more visibility, not by a lot though, because I don't have a lot of power. Instead, what you can do, based on the platform itself, this isn't specifically Hive. This is Peak D, which is just one of the main interfaces that Hive uses. But within Peak D has their own promotion/boosting system. So you can see here when you click on this, you'll see promote. And all this is doing is you're going to burn some Hive tokens, and you're going to send some to them as payment, and then they will give you like a sponsored spot on whatever tags you're boosting on, or if you're willing to pay more potentially for everything. So you can see here, you go and you have your content. This is the link to that content. You can specifically promote with a minimum of 5 Hive. So 50% will be burned and 50% will be paid to Peak D. And then you will essentially add the topics you want to advertise on, and then how much you're willing to promote and how long. And then it'll tell you exactly, how long it'll last, what spot you'll be in based on other bidders. And then you have all these other options. Like say you wanted to just advertise on every single topic, it's going to cost you more money. But this way you're going to get potentially a lot more visibility. This will put you on trending and hot, whereas this will kind of just boost you within those specific tags. This is for every single topic. I guess this is a little bit different from the all topics. And then for specific communities, you have to subscribe to specific communities and then also work with them. And Peak D, I guess, manages that as well. So there's a lot of different options here, but you can just go in and test how much you want to do. So again, say I wanted to do 30 Hive for 3 days. I can preview and see where would I be on this list. So you can see that a lot of other people are doing significantly more money than I'm willing to do. So instead, I'm going to do 1 day of promotion and see how I can do there. So by switching it to 1 day worth of promotion, it would put me at the first position. So that would put me ahead of everyone. You can kind of play around with what's available here. Like if I did a day and a half, that still puts me ahead of other people. The score generated is based on how much you're willing to pay and how many days you're trying to do it for. And then based on that, you can get put ahead of other people based on whatever they've bid. So it's pretty straightforward, a little bit complex, but for the most part, once you actually start plugging in values and testing it and previewing it, it's pretty straightforward. So this is a great way for you to advertise on Hive, at least through the Peak D interface. I'm sure there's probably other interfaces on Hive that offer something similar to this, but this is one way for you to boost/promote content on the chain. You do have to keep in mind though, this is just showing people your content, so you might not earn even like a fraction of what you spend. Like I don't always earn 30 Hive. In fact, it's not super common that I ever really earn that much for one post. So, this is probably a little too expensive. I would rather go for some specific tags and then just kind of boost within that, and just try to reach the specific communities that I'm trying to reach. And for 5, it's much more feasible. But it really depends like how important it is for you to push out this content. For me, I put out so much content that I don't usually bother trying to boost anything individually. But if there was something that was really, really important, I guess it would make sense to try boosting. And I have tested it out a few times. It does work very well. So it's definitely worth taking a look at. The next one we're going to look at is Odysee/LBRY. Regardless of which interface you use or which, like if you're using the desktop app or in the browser here, it doesn't really matter. What really matters and what we're talking about here is being able to boost the visibility of your content. And you can do this in 2 ways on LBRY, both of which do require LBC, but both of which are technically free in that you don't have to spend your LBC. You just need to have it originally to be able to boost content. So we'll cover both of those situations of the 2 things that you can do with that. So the most common way to use your LBC is via a support. And all a support is once you go onto a video and you scroll down, you see support here. And what support allows you to do is you can take your LBC and essentially boost your content with visibility based on how much you put in. And then other people will be able to see your content and you'll be higher up on the list, so to speak, based on visibility. And it doesn't give you a crazy amount because it's still going to be based on whether people actually are interacting with it, watching it, commenting, liking. but it just boosts you for a very short amount of time. And then you can reclaim that boost and all the earnings that you made when you did so. So right here, you can see I originally boosted like 8,850. I've earned 3.76. So I'm going to unlock all of this, and then I'll show you exactly what I mean for a boost. Originally, I only put this amount into the actual publish, and we'll talk about how you can boost via publishes and the URLs in a moment. So I should have gotten the money back by now. Yeah, you can see I got it back. And when you go to boost your content, you basically want to just use all of your LBC because it'll be the most effective if you're using all that you have versus like using very small amounts. And you typically want to put the full amount of your LBC behind something. You don't want to really spread it out because then they're all just much less effective. It still works, but the most effective way that I've found is to directly put it all behind one piece of content, and then after about 24 hours, I reclaim and then I put it back onto the same piece of content, or ideally onto my new content. Because on LBRY, new content is already being served to people on the platform who are following you. But in terms of people who aren't following you, they're not likely going to see your stuff unless you put a bit of LBC behind it. So this is very important for getting visibility. It's going to boost you within the tags that you have posted to. So I'm not sure if it shows here somewhere. Yeah, so I posted to crypto, cryptocurrency, finance, economics, and investing. So within those tags, I should be shown at a higher rate, or just above a lot of the other people who aren't boosting. I should be shown above them aside from the really popular content. It will take a little bit to actually go into effect, so it probably won't be showing right away. But the best example is Wild West, which is purely based on boosts. So this is showing only based on boosts, and you can see results boosted by supports. And this is purely based on that. There's no other algorithms or sorting in here. There's no categories or anything. This is purely just this person here has put the most LBC behind this to boost it. Let's see how much that actually was. 27,000. So this gives you the idea, right? You know that for 28,000, you will be the #1 video in this category. So based on that, I should probably be somewhere around here, unless again, it does take some time to actually go into effect. But as we can check here and see how much this is at, 38. So naturally, mine should be showing up somewhere near the top once that actually goes into effect, or maybe I just need to refresh or whatever. But either way, it should show up somewhere near the top because of that boost, and then it will slowly trend back down to the bottom or whatever over a certain amount of time. So then again, to get the most out of this, you should always be claiming your tips, and you should always be revoking your supports, whether you did it the way that I did it originally when you go directly to the video, or you come into your wallet here, you switch to supports, you switch to active supports, and then you just revoke them directly from here, and then you go in, you support your latest video or a video that you're really trying to get support for. But it's always best to focus on newer content. I found the older the content is, the less likely it's going to get views from a support. So I think that is very important. I'm not sure why this isn't showing up. It's being very slow right now. But I mean, in normal circumstances, or whenever this finally finishes loading, maybe I'll just refresh. You would see the support that I just did a moment ago, and then you have the option to revoke that support, and then you can put that, to whatever else. But eventually, it would normally show up here, and then you can just revoke that, whether you're on Odysee or LBRY.TV or using the app. Regardless of what you do, you should have that access here. And if you have struggles like I'm having right now, you can always just, again, go directly to the video, and you can unsupport from the video itself. It's being a little slow right now, so let's just move on to the next one. You always got to consider that with decentralization, you're going to have issues with performance. But you know, they're always making strides to improve that and better that. So on Read.Cash, we have, oh, I don't know why I included Publish OX there. On Read.Cash, we have sponsorships and we have boosting. So these are two forms of promotion where you can earn and sponsor others, and then boosting is just like what you would expect, directly boosting your content, as well as I believe that you can also reach out to Read.Cash and advertise directly on their platform. But you can see here that I have a sponsor block. You create this by adding a sponsor block to any of your posts, and then it will show up on the bottom of your post as well as on your profile here. And I'll show you a quick example of that. You can add your sponsor block wherever, but I have it automatically just add to the bottom of all my posts. And these people just essentially get advertising from my content as well as my profile. And they're all just bidding for, you know, what spot they're in. So to become a sponsor, you go to anyone who has a sponsor block, and then you can bid here. You can see what everyone else has bid, and to show up, you know, based on where you want to show up on the sponsor block, you have to bid the correct amount, and then you can set up, you know, you can set up a picture, your text, and then the actual link itself. And then going back to what that actually looks like here. So they've got their picture, that's the text, and then the link itself is when you click on it, it'll take you there. So this is like a really cool way to advertise through like a kind of sponsorship, influencer advertising with other creators and getting visibility on their accounts. This is a great way to do that, and a great way to monetize your own content. I'm earning a fair enough amount of money from all of these sponsors who are donating to me just to have this little bit of ad space on my profile. And then I use that for boosting or to sponsor other people, and it all kind of comes full circle. And the great thing about boosting other people is, you know, it encourages people to, you know, to appreciate you for, I mean, sponsoring them, and then maybe they'll check out your content more and then engage with you more, and then they might, you know, help you earn more over time by doing so. So there's a lot of different reasons to sponsor or get sponsored. But I highly recommend taking advantage of that system. The boosting system is very similar to Mines. You're just using Bitcoin Cash on here. There's no fees associated with boosting, but essentially you have all your boosts that you're running. You can pause them, move your unspent funds, or edit or top up your boosts. One thing to keep in mind is once you've put some money towards boosting, it can't be reclaimed back into your wallet as far as I know. You can just move around unspent funds and then edit and top up boosts as needed. But essentially the way that it works is they want to show your content to, you know, a certain percentage of the network, and based on that, you can pay based on how, you know, how often your content is going to be shown to people, and, you know, maybe how important it is that it happens right away, and how long you want to do that. So you can do up to a max of 3 days. At the most cheapest, only showing to 0.4% of the people, is 64 cents. At the max, it is $740. But they also give you an idea of your projected amount of clicks and all that good stuff. But, you know, I personally just do very, very cheap, basic stuff. I just like to have some visibility. I'm not trying to break the bank and lose money to be able to just put out this content. If you do put something out that is extremely important, it might make sense for you to put a lot more money behind it. But personally, I just like to do a little bit and just get a little bit more visibility and get more people checking out my content, and then help it get more engagements, more support, etc. So that is Read.Cash. It's pretty straightforward. The actual way to boost something, if you haven't boosted it already, is you just go to one of your actual posts. This can only be done with blogs, not just status posts. And you will see right here, boosted, or boost rather. It says boosted by you because I'm already boosting, when normally it would just say boost. You'd click this, and then it would bring up the option to start boosting. And this is how you would get started. And you just change these sliders and then hit OK. And I'll just do a tiny amount here as an example. Oh, wait, I think because I'm already boosting this, it doesn't let you start like a second boost because they'd probably deal with a lot of spam if there was multiple boosts of the same boost. But in here, I'll just top this up slightly just to quickly show you what this is like. As you can see, boosts are non-refundable. So I'm just adding 5 cents. It only takes a few seconds to confirm, and then it's good to go. And then when you refresh, you will see the update made. I added 5 cents, so that should say 0.61. Once we get this refresh going, there you go, 0.61. So very, very quick, very easy to do. I really like advertising on Read.Cash because it's very simple, and it really helps get my visibility for my my account, my profile, as well as the actual posts themselves. So I'm not a huge fan of Uptrennd, but because they do have this available, I think it's only fair that I cover it. The reason I'm not a big fan is because it's become so spammy lately, and people have been boosting so much that boosts aren't really that effective. I mean, it's better to boost than not boost at all. But at the end of the day, I end up never really having more like earned points or 1-up than I did, you know, a week before based on adding a little bit of a boost to everything. So that's just my personal preference. I still boost everything because I want to still promote my content elsewhere. Like when I post on Uptrennd here, I usually embed my library videos. So this is really more about promoting my library content than it is about having, you know, a ton of faith in Uptrennd, because again, I'm not a super big fan, but I'm happy to advertise and boost content across any network and take full advantage of everything, because as many of my viewers know, I'm on every platform, taking advantage of everything possible, and I'm putting in that work to really test everything out and just take advantage of everything that is available to me. So when you're making a new piece of content, you know, setting up all the general things that you need to set up, but oh, I didn't realize that was a thing. That's interesting. You get a 100-point penalty if you lie about original content. Anyways, the boost post, it's interesting that they can take away your money though. That seems very centralized. But for boosting, you go to boost post, and then it's essentially a little bit more than, yeah, so it's a little bit less than like 1 per 10. I guess maybe there's like a discount, or it depends on how many you're spending, but typically I like to do 1,500, and that usually comes to 60 points. So their boost model is extremely cheap, but because it's cheap, there's a lot of people doing it. So there's a lot of noise and a lot of spam and stuff. But again, I think it is still worth checking out and trying out. Once you've written your article and everything, and then you go to post it, this will be running. You can also boost content like after you've already posted it by just going to the actual post itself and then starting a boost. You can also look at your point history and look at, you know, previous boosts and ways that you've been spending your money in the past. And then you can see your actual promoted stuff. I think this is actually different though. Promoted videos and articles is a whole other thing that I'm not sure if this is currently active, but I know that they were working on this before, and this was like something that was in the works. So definitely check this out once they like get this going better. But right now, the easiest way to boost is just when you create something, you post it and you boost it. Again, I'm not a huge fan of Uptrennd, but it's better to use than not to use at all, especially if you're just earning it. Most of these I just earn and then I spend my earnings. Almost never do I actually pay in, just because it's not super ideal to be spending a ton of money to test these things out. But for some of these that are more effective, it might make more sense to pay in to get that boost. With LBRY, I guess technically I did originally pay in to be boosting. Definitely worth it on LBRY because you earn a crazy amount. I think it makes sense to, at the beginning, maybe to deposit a bit. I did deposit a little bit on Read.Cash when I started, just to kind of get me going and doing some boosting, doing some sponsors. So it does help to put a little bit in, but I would never be putting like a lot of money behind any of these. Most of this you can just earn from, especially if you're a content creator. But if you are just trying to do some sort of generic advertising, it might make sense to put a little bit of money into these things. Here I'm showing you, this has never been shown before, and I might do something more in depth on this in the future. This shows you everything that I did with the Brave browser. Mind you, this is only available to people who have at least $1,000 to do advertising. They are working on a self-serve ad model, which is similar to what we've seen with a lot of these, but more similar to Facebook, which is fantastic because then you can easily create your own ads and do all this stuff very easily on your own, and then just spend BAT to actually purchase those ads. So that is going to be game changing. But I did want to show this more so just to show how effective this is. So my click-through rate for some of my best campaigns, and I'm a social media manager as my day job, so my click-through rate on some of my best campaigns is like 1.86, 2%. This is 9.4%. That's insane, and it's disgustingly cheap. Typically, my cost per click is also like, around 50 cents, somewhere around there. On here, I'm not sure if it's the exact same because I don't actually have the cost per click, but based on the spend and the amount of clicks that we got, which was 1.24 million, based on that, I believe it was about a cent per click for the CPC. It was 1 cent, which again is like 50 times cheaper than typically what I spend on Facebook. And it's about 4 to 5 times more effective for click through. So I know that might sound like, a bunch of just like word salad to a lot of people, but for people who are serious about advertising, that is a very, very big deal. And they're probably jumping up and down, hearing how effective this actually is. And even with $1,000, you could do a lot. But soon they're going to have a self-serve ad model, and that is going to be absolutely game changing. The next one we have is Presearch. Now, I haven't used Presearch in quite a bit, but I used to use it a lot. It's good because you can use any search engine and then search for something. And then what they'll do is they'll give you a tiny little ad just before you actually get the search, typically. And what that all that really does is I'm surprised I'm not actually seeing any advertisements, unless Brave is blocking them on me. But normally you get like a little ad, or I guess they're just running these ads now. Previously, Presearch would have an ad that would actually show up while you're trying to search something, and it would make you wait a couple of seconds. But now it seems like they're just doing advertising in the same way that Google does, like you can see right here. So that's pretty nice. Essentially what that means is this is feasible to use as a search engine, and you will also earn pre-tokens, these they're Presearch pre-tokens. You'll earn them over time for having those ads pop up, and they're kind of just rewarding you for allowing those ads to be a part of your browser experience in the same way that Brave browser does. So with Brave and Presearch, you could be earning both BAT and pre, and then spending those or selling them or using them, whatever way you want to do. I've earned 48 pre in the time that I've spent using it, which hasn't been very much. But once you either reach 1,000 or you buy 1,000 worth, then you can stake your pre tokens. And what staking allows you to do is you keyword stake. So you stake on a specific keyword. So for example, if someone searched up LBRY on Presearch, this is the ad that they would get, which is just their invite referral link. But if I had more, I could stake on this, and then I would take that ad spot. So you're never actually spending the money. Similarly to LBRY, you're just staking it, and then whenever you want to, you can unstake it at any time with no restrictions. But if you do have the top bid, this allows you to get that free, quote unquote, advertising space. So again, when we go here and I searched crypto test, this was what appeared for the ad. I guess sometimes there'll be ads, sometimes there won't be. But what's supposed to happen is their ad's supposed to show up based on whoever has staked the most. So again, whatever it is, it could be anything, whether it's LBRY, Odysee, literally any keyword you could possibly think of. Their invite links are supposed to show up when you search these various keywords. Maybe it's only every like certain amount of searches that you actually do before you get an ad. Again, I haven't used Presearch in a very long time, but again, if we check blockchain here, it should be the same link as the ad that we just saw. So that is correct. So that's good to know that they just don't always serve you ads, which is really nice. I might actually start using Presearch again, given they've changed the way that they advertise. And I'm happy to earn Presearch as well and eventually get back into staking. I tested staking quite extensively with about 10,000 pre-tokens back in the day. I did a lot of staking against LBRY, against Steam, PublishOX, many different platforms that I use, and it worked very, very well. They got a lot of views, lots of clicks, so it's extremely effective. And now that they've made this a little less, cumbersome to use, I'm probably going to start using this again more as well. And you can have your ads show up here. So that is very, very effective. The beautiful thing here is that in a lot of these different scenarios, you don't actually have to spend money explicitly or directly to get the benefits behind their marketing or boosting or advertising models. So without actually having to spend money and lose money, you're still able to get visibility, reach, more engagement, and maybe get some exposure for some specific thing that you'd like more people to see within a crypto ecosystem or community. So these are some of the platforms that I use to do this. Again, I was a little rusty with Presearch because I haven't used it in quite some time, but I'm going to be using it more going forward. And I'd love to hear from you guys. Are there any other platforms that I should be taking a look at for advertising? I did back in the day, do an interview with the CEO and founder from AdX. So there are things like that, but specifically, I'm looking more for extremely cheap, very easy to get started, more so platforms where you can earn and then use your earnings to advertise. Because again, I think the most important thing is reinvesting into yourself. And if you can earn and then reinvest in yourself by boosting and doing sponsors and all these different things, this is how I was able to grow so quickly on Read.Cash and Mines, for example, just always reinvesting my earnings. And it's been very, very effective. And I highly recommend checking it out as well, especially if you want to do all this just based on stuff that you earn and you don't want to actually lose any money or spend anything to get started. And maybe you want to just test things out. So it's a very great way to do that without actually having to put any money down up front. Thank you so much for watching, especially watching to the very end. I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business, signing off. Cheers.